My parents have been acting strange lately. Before now, they were loving, caring, affectionate towards me. I was sheltered, yeah, but I didn't mind. I loved them. I was their only child, and they seemed to love me too. Now the atmosphere in the house is so thick and humid it's suffocating. Ever since I went on that trip to Mexico with my bestie, my parents changed. Some things happened there that were unforgivable to my parents. My father, a well-respected man amongst our community, he no longer looked me in the eye. His facial expression was cold, almost as if he was gravely disappointed in me, or himself. He, the head of the house, pulled my mother aside daily, giving her very specific instructions he believed I couldn't hear as he whispered. My mother, what my father would call the weaker vessel, was a stay-at-home wife. She may not have held too much responsibility in her odd behavior, but she pushed her own daughter away the second her husband demanded. She no longer went out of her way to brag about her beautiful, brilliant daughter. Instead, she walked on eggshells around me, making it her mission to go out daily with her friends to avoid being alone with me. I became a stranger to them, something tainted, and unfortunately their odd behavior only increased as time progressed. My mother, the domestic one, began preparing my meals after she prepared her own and my father's. Not only were my meals prepped after theirs, my clothes were also washed separately. She went above and beyond my father's requests and completely severed the line between love and hate. I was a traitor to them. At night, once my parents locked their bedroom door, I would listen in on their conversations. Routinely, my mother made a plea to my father that I attend rehabilitation school, but my father relentlessly denied her suggestion, reminding her that I would taint the other kids. They would go back and forth with different options, but nothing seemed to accommodate me, according to my father. Every discussion would end with my mother crying, my father attempting to comfort her as I swelled with rage outside of their bedroom door. Being that I had little control of my own actions, I would experience a terrible tantrum after listening to their late-night discussions. They would leave me kicking at their door, scratching at the walls violently, shouting obscenities, and violating my own home. I couldn't stomach them turning against me. I was their only child. They were supposed to do anything for me, and yet they were willing to support their morality in place of supporting their flesh and blood? Instead of going to bat for me, they had carried on with their disturbing scheme against me. That's when I began noticing critical changes. As my violent outbursts picked up, the lacing began. My mother didn't even have the decency to conceal her treacherous plan. Many a times I saw the vial of poison atop the kitchen counter, sitting in plain view as if I was dumb enough not to notice. The clear liquid in the vial was odorless, which I'm sure my mother and father appreciated. Anytime I saw the vial, I avoided eating. I began dropping weight so fast that I could barely keep my energy up. My skin began to gray and my hair began to shed aggressively. But with my rebellion, my parents grew desperate. I watched on as my mother attempted to douse my clothing in the poison, hoping it would seep into my pores and kill me off before I did anything reckless again. Unfortunately for her, I refused to change clothes. The foul odor I gave off began permeating throughout the house after a few weeks went by. I refused to shower. Maybe my mom substituted my shampoo, the body wash, the toothpaste with the poison. I didn't want to take the risk, and that's when things escalated. For food, I began sneaking out of the house at night. Even though I was raised in an extremely strict home, before my father became involved with the church, he and I regularly went hunting from time to time, him teaching me the small tricks to catching small game. So I hunted, preying on easily caught game for sustenance. My hunting skills naturally increased with practice, and I would regularly hunt bigger and better game, growing hungry with ambition. Eventually, though, my parents caught on to my absence. My mother, the one that paid me no mind previously, began noticing the bloodstains on my soiled clothing. I attempted to wash away the evidence after each hunt, but without the proper equipment and the ongoing poisoning, which made me question anything that wasn't brand new, my efforts proved useless. In a panic, she informed my father, and naturally things intensified thereafter. Men began visiting the house. My father attempted to pass off the visitors as friends. I knew he was lying. My father had no friends. He was reserved, as my mother was, and barely left the house outside of preaching. Those men, they weren't friends of his. They were there to get rid of me, and my suspicion was soon confirmed after they began visiting. "Julie, these men just want to talk to you, okay?" My father started, loosening the band around his neck. I backed away, glancing back and forth between the two men approaching me. Regardless of my effort to flee and fight back, I found myself cornered. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. As it was in the beginning, is now, and shall ever be, world without end. They began chanting away. The priest pulled out his Bible, thrusting it before me as he read from its pages. As he chanted away, laughter escaped me. You people are pitiful. Your God has no say, has no power here. Try as hard as you want. In the end, you'll see who's left standing, I announced. Still, they insisted on chanting their useless rhetoric. They continued spraying the holy water on me, burning my flesh unbearably as their chants increased in volume. However, their efforts were null and void. No matter how much poison they threw upon me, no matter how many prayers were delivered to my ears, they couldn't hurt me. They couldn't hurt their sweet, sweet child. Wastefully, they've been at the same routine for weeks, trying with all their might to get rid of me. Unbeknownst to them, I'm a tough one to get rid of, and I have no intentions of leaving anytime soon.